I'm going to give it a chance. The last time I started a live stream, guys, it didn't start right away on YouTube, and I had started talking right as we went live, right? And so it cut off. So right now, guys, I just want to make sure we're live and caught up in conversation. Just double. You guys want to check LinkedIn?
Your LinkedIn, I just got a pop-up. Join now, the reboot.
Oh, wonderful. We're good. We're live. Hey, isn't it great to feel like we're live, guys? You're alive. Johnny 5 is alive. Hey, everyone. This is Jim Gast, and I'm coming to you with the Reboot. We are the Reboot crew. It never gets old, guys. Come on, Stephanie. Listen, I'm joined by some incredible, awesome people from around the country. My name is Jim Gast, and I'm with Splicing Consulting in Cincinnati.
I'm Ryan Heisler, Computer Eats. We're in the St. Louis area.
I'm Stephanie Groot. I'm with WinStar Technologies in Culpeper, Virginia.
And I'm Dave Groot with WinStar Technologies in Culpeper, Virginia.
Brian Bratchey with B&L PC Solutions on Long Island in New York.
All right. These guys are my part of my accountability group. We are a group of people that get together and talk about business. We're all managed service provider owners throughout the country. We all do different things. And the goal of Reboot, the reason we're here, go ahead, brother. What's going on? What's you pointing for? What's that?
Just pointing at you.
Oh, yeah. I gotta look down at you. Am I looking down at him? No, the wrong way. Sorry. Reverse on camera. No, we're all MSP owners, and the goal here of the Reboot is actually to help business owners reevaluate decisions that they've made, whether it comes to business decisions in marketing, sales, technology, cybersecurity, and so on and so forth. We make business decisions all the time, and many times when we've made those decisions, we move right on and past them. Well, as experts in the community, as experts in working with businesses, and we work with hundreds of businesses, right, between all of us, it's sometimes important to reevaluate certain things, and that's what we're trying to accomplish on the Reboot. Anybody want to add to that? Oh, man.
No, I mean, I think that's perfect. We're just trying to bring, our experiences in business to people who are in business.
You got it. So today we are talking about a wonderful topic that actually, Dave, I think, was it your idea or Ryan's idea for this topic today?
If it wasn't theirs, it was mine. I'll just.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, it was Brian's. It was Brian's
idea. That's
all right, guys. Look, you guys had your chance. Brian stepped right up and took that. Good job, Brian. We're going to talk about the hidden cost of cybersecurity breaches and relate that to the cost of the actual cybersecurity. Does that sum it up well enough, guys?
Sure.
Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah, I hope so. So, guys and gals, sorry, Stephanie. When I say guys, I mean all genders. Okay. My question I wanted to ask you guys first is, let's talk about the cybersecurity attacks that we've seen. Man, we've been around the block, all of us. And by the way, there's a few people in the Reboot that aren't with us today, and we say hi to those guys and gals. But we've been around the block. We've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this 25 years. Anybody longer or about the same? Everybody?
About the same.
About the same, right? And we've seen a lot. I remember back when there was script kiddies and pop-ups and all kinds of just dumb stuff, right? But they're not playing games anymore, are they?
No,
not even close.
Cool.
We've moved a long way from infecting Word documents, just to mess with them. Now it's, we want to steal all your financial world.
Oh my gosh, right? And your money, right? Yeah. I mean, not only steal financial information, healthcare information, and all that stuff. Guys, gals, why do they do it? Why do hackers do this?
That's a big
Show
question.
me the money.
Money.
It is about money, but I also think a lot of these hack attacks, right? They're not the, back in the old days, Hollywood would make you think it was a lonely kid in a basement with a hoodie on who was neglected by his peers and wanted to take revenge against society as a whole. These are nation states, right? Like, these are people who are looking to take over our elections, to destroy our way of life, they want to ruin your business. They want to take your livelihood and destroy it. They don't like the American dream.
Yeah, and WannaCry, I believe that was a well-known secret now that was the government of North Korea that did the WannaCry ransomware. That was the big popular, well-known ransomware that spread all over the globe in 24 hours or something like that.
Right.
All over the news for a day or two.
Well,
Wow.
and by the way, we're not any better. Our country is hacking every day against other countries, just like they are us. So, I mean, you've all heard the story of the Iranian nuclear, subterfuges being spun off of centers so that they couldn't enrich uranium. No, that was a combined effort of Israel and the United States. I mean, we're hacking just as hard.
This guy knows nuclear secrets. I don't know this guy. Who are you again? Where am I?
We're in Virginia. We're close to DC.
Yeah.
We're just shy of the blast zone.
Yeah.
Well, it really is interesting, and I think look, Stephanie, you said it right away. Show me the money, right?
Mhm.
We all know that there are different types of hacks going on out there, but there's probably one or two that are the biggest types of hacks. You want to tell people, anybody want to talk about what they might be, what the most prevalent kinds are, what their goals are?
Ransomware is the biggest one, but that's in many cases today, that's the final result. That's not necessarily the motivation.
I think that would be good to talk about. Like what's the ransomware is the thing at the end now that you see after all the really bad stuff happened, and they've been in your network for 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, whatever, and figuring out what they had, downloading all of your data, exfiltrating it, and then once they've got control over everything, really made a mess, then you get the ransomware.
Yeah.
Right, but it's the spoofing that kind of leads up to that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the domain spoofing and then the email phishing. But lately, with all the COVID action, what we've seen is a lot of exploits on the remote worker, right? They all have access now to the network back at the office from home. And so these emails that are being sent out are an effort to get that person working from home, if they can exploit their access back to the network. A lot of that was done on the fly. We had states closing down, businesses needing to conduct business. They sent people home with laptops, didn't think it through. There's just all kinds of wide open doors where they can now gain access to the network. And once they're in there, like Ryan said, they can be there for 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, whatever, causing harm, doing what they want to do. And then they throw out a little ransomware attack at the end as they close the door behind them.
Yeah.
I want to throw out a real fast survey. What's the number one way that companies, people, individuals, users, whatever, become infected with any kind of malware of any type? What's like the number one way?
It's got to be phishing.
Yeah, email.
I agree.
It's got to be phishing.
That's the door.
It's got to be. I would say that's the number one.
Yeah, definitely. Fully agree. I just kind of wanted to get a consensus and make sure that it's understood that the thing that is most concerning in the way that you're going to get hacked and the way it's going to happen is that it's going to happen because of an email, most likely. There are some other ways, leaving ports open and, firewall vulnerabilities, but by and large, email.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dave couldn't actually tell you about my mother the other day. She's a real estate agent, and she got an email. You want to elaborate on that, Dave? How she called you in a panic?
She called me because she was all mad at this guy because he charged her credit card for an antivirus firewall software, and she was going to call the Better Business Bureau on him and was happy to tell me she let him know that. And I asked her how it all took place, and she said, well, I said, that's a hacker. It's not real. No, it's real. They had a phone number and everything in the email, and I called it. And so she gets the email. She sees a toll-free number. They say they've charged her credit card already for $200, and she's, emotional, right? So what is the trigger? It's an emotion. Hey, you're about to lose this, or hey, this is going to show up, or if you don't click here now, if you don't do this today, we're going to come and arrest you. We're going to, whatever the trigger is. And so she gets on the phone and she calls these guys, and they're like, oh, we'll just open up your internet browser and go to this address and we'll get it all taken care of. And I'm like,
nice people.
Please tell me you didn't do that, So yeah,
I think it's funny. She's going to call the Better Business Bureau. That's like calling a cross guard to a murder.
She was so uptight. I'm like, listen, I promise you, they haven't charged your credit card yet. Now, if you did what they told you to do that day,
they'll just open up a new one. Don't worry about it. They'll just start a new one for you.
Right.
Just give me your social and your date of birth.
That's right. Oh, and click here and just put all that information into the form for me.
No, you know what though? That's a good example, and this isn't about a protection thing, but we got to take care of the elderly when it comes to this stuff, and I try to do my put my effort out there at educating the elderly and kids. So we all feel this way. If you have a mom or dad, you got to make sure that elderly grandma, grandpa, or mom or dad, or whatever, you got to make sure that they're protected, that they know. Hey, even text messages. I tell this story all the time. You know that Target, that when they were hacked, or any of the major department stores, oh no private information was really stolen, just some cell phone numbers. Now you start getting text messages to the cell phone numbers with links that you click on, and so they target the elderly.
Yeah.
So
well, look, I mean, it's not just the elderly.
No.
I mean, it's sorry, Ryan, I didn't mean to step over you, but it's everybody, right? I mean, you don't have to be old to be attacked like that. And frankly, I'm sorry, but a lot of the folks who have businesses, our audience here, they've worked their entire life. They're in their, their mid 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, 30s even. And they've been working very hard trying to save and put together things for their elderly, for their young, for their, one day a hacker can ruin all of that.
Oh my gosh, let's talk about that. So let's get right to it, guys. Have you guys had clients or picked up customers, right, that have been hacked in the past and it's cost them?
Yeah.
We see it
they
all
pay
the
the ransom. They've actually paid the ransom, Ryan?
No, I haven't had anyone who has paid a ransom. I've had one company actually two companies that came to us when they had got hit with ransomware.
Yeah.
I've had two different clients who've been duped as a result of email. One of them was a client that actually contacted a vendor and wanted to pay off a lease, and they sent that via email. Said, "Hey, we'd like to pay off our lease." So the lease happened to be $294,000. So the vendor, actually, their email had been compromised. Ooh. So when the client sent the email to the vendor, said, "Hey, I'd like to send you $294,000," the hacker had already set up a similar domain name that was off by one letter, then took that conversation offline, deleted the original email, replied back from the similar domain, this back and forth conversation, sent my client two different bank wire transfer instructions, or sorry, three. The first two failed, and then the third one went through. So they wired this hacker $294,000 because it wasn't their fault, obviously, because it was the other party that was actually hacked. But at the end of the day, I don't know that they got it back because I don't know that they had insurance to protect them against cybercrime. And then I've also seen another client who had a personal SVC email that was hacked, and he had been communicating with his financial not an advisor. They had an account with his money in it. He'd sold a business, and so he had a good amount of money in there. And they took about $40,000 out of that account. Now he actually got that money back because at the end of the day, they figured out that it really started with the financial firm. Their email was hacked, and then they targeted him, the client, so they could get both sides of the conversation. They basically faked a letter that acted like it was the client directing the financial firm to wire $40,000 to this other outside bank.
In Cincinnati, in the greater Cincinnati area. So we're right, in case you don't know where we're at, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana kind of come together, and Cincinnati's right down there at the corner, right? And so Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati are right across the river. And there's a lot of law. I deal with a lot of law firms, and so law firms have trust accounts and escrow accounts for various reasons, right? Whether it's a client retainer for doing work, or we're going to hold some money so you can sell some property, or you're going to hold some money in trust so that something happens to it later on. Obviously, hackers know this, right? They're finding this out. These hackers, these people that are actually doing these nation states, actually, some of them are real businesses, right? They set up shop like businesses. And so they do a lot of reconnaissance. They're looking at the the most lucrative targets, right? Who can I get the most return from, the bang for my buck, the ROI? And so there was a thing put out by the Northern Kentucky Bar Association a couple years ago. Be on the lookout for an email like this, asking you to do something very legitimate, transfer funds for a piece of property that somebody's trying to buy, that, they'll send you a check that's a cashier's check, which, by the way, just because it's a cashier's check doesn't mean it's guaranteed. It could still be fake funds. I know I learned all this myself. And sure enough, there was about 5 firms, and we're not talking about small players, that actually responded to it. 2 of them transferred the money, or I know what it was. They took the cashier check to the bank, and then as soon as they took it to the bank, withdrew the money and sent it to whatever account they wanted to. And guess what? The cashier's check bounced like a basketball. You could do a 3-pointer with it, right? For 2 of the firms. And the third one, I understood, went up to the point to put the check in the bank, but wait for it to clear. And so they saw that it just bounced, like anything else. They were taken. So I know that 2 firms in Cincinnati were taken a couple years back for at least $250,000, $125 each is what I understood. So, and insurance doesn't always cover that, does it?
It doesn't. But in both of those cases, you're not talking about any ransom being paid.
No, you're right. Ransom's a different story, right? Ransom.
I mean, in 2018, the average cost of the ransom was like $36,000. The average in February of this year was $111,000. That's the ransom itself.
Wow. Is that what they paid, or is that what was asked?
That's the average paid ransom.
Yeah.
Or the average reported ransom. And then a quarter later, quarter 2, it went to $178,000 this year alone. So we're seeing, 50 to 100% increases quarter by quarter.
Yeah.
And the big difference is, in the old days, I've had a couple of prospects or clients that had gotten ransomware in the past, and the easy fix for that is a good backup, right? If you can restore all the files, everything's great. And that happened years ago when ransomware was in its infancy. But today, they're doing 2 things. A, they're taking all the data first, so that if you don't pay the ransom, they just post it on the internet for free for sale.
So what if you got backups?
Or they destroy your backups. They sit on your network long enough to figure out where your backups are being stored and how to get to them, and they go in and destroy them. And so you come in thinking you're going to save the day. No problem. Don't pay that ransom. And the data's gone. It's encrypted, and their backups are history or corrupted or non-functional.
They stopped your backups months ago, and nobody was paying attention to it.
Correct.
Yep.
Jim said a really, you said one word a little bit ago, reconnaissance, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's the number one thing. Now, these are not stupid people, right? These are some really smart people they're taking their time. They look around and figure out what they've got, right? How can they cause the most damage? What's valuable? What, how can they get you, right? What can they do with this data? Is it valuable? Like if they posted it publicly, would you have a problem with that? Would you not want this information shared? Is it protected by some kind of law? What, do they have banking information? That they're not just coming in there and slashing and burning and running. They're coming in, hanging out, figuring out what they've got, doing that recon, and then moving on the most valuable thing.
And they're getting better and better and better. They improve every single time.
Yeah.
It's like it's an ongoing cat and mouse game.
Like
how to build a Go ahead.
Ransom started at $500-$600, right, and they didn't delete the backups, and it worked. But then now when we're up to $100 and whatever $1,000, and they've taken the time to learn most of the popular backup products and delete those backups before they do the damage, so that you can't just use your backups to recover your software or your data.
Nobody wants to spend $40,000, $100,000 to get their stuff back. And by the way, I hear pretty good reports on getting that stuff back when that does happen. I don't hear a whole lot of we never got it back, but there's other costs associated with this, right, guys?
Well, yeah, there are times where the decryption does not work. So it's not a guarantee that you'll get it back. But look, I was doing some research earlier. Every state in the country has a breach notification law.
Yeah.
So if your network is breached and you have personally identifiable information on employees and or clients or any of that kind of information, if you have a breach occur, you need to notify certain people in your state. Okay. So there's a hidden cost there. You lose your data, so now you're out of business. If you're under compliance, and for instance in HIPAA, you have to be able to be back in business in a certain period of time. Even if your backups fail, your systems go down, they don't want to hear that you can't have surgeries or that you can't do, right. Like that's just not the game. So there's reputational loss, which can be loss of business. There's the time and energy your staff is going to be spending on incident response and not making money for the company, right? Like their total focus is going to be calling lawyers, insurance companies, trying to do forensics, figure out what happened, what we can do to patch it up, get it closed. All those things are going to take place. Every state, Ohio, California, and Florida are 500 people or more. You need to do notification. Ohio, New York, Virginia, a couple other states I was looking at, there's 1,000 or more. So, and then you get to pay for credit monitoring for all those people for a year. So, I mean, that's just the scraping of the surface of the hidden costs.
And I don't want to go deep into this, but cyber liability, if you don't have the right policy from the right insurance provider and it's been reviewed and you don't have a plan, you're gonna really be in a world of hurt.
Look at some of these, in the more recent years, these hospitals that were breached, and they just we don't have backups, and whatever state it was, the subway system was compromised, and they just okay, it's going to be a week before we can get back online, and it's like, and that's in our industry, we can only look at minimizing exposure or how quick breaches can be identified, and that's kind of key to us with our clients. But you look at when we hear these stories, it's like when you're a hospital and that's it, you just don't have backups, and it's okay, right? It's like, well, no, it's really not, because now that's at least hopefully put in perspective for some people that this is real, and if you're shutting something this massive down for a certain period of time, and they didn't have the money to even pay ransom, so that's not even an option. But it's awareness is out there, but there's still people that are kind of naive to it. And it's there's only so much you can do. You got to just keep pumping it out there.
The most naive state.
The posture these days, like of the legal authorities, is not to pay the ransom.
Right.
So
and it's against the law now. Apparently it's against the law
to pay the ransom. Right.
The sad thing is, when you guys talked about that, and this always drives me crazy, but those larger companies that said that they didn't have backup, this has happened to like the city of Atlanta, it happened to the St. Louis Public Library System. It happens all the time, and I'm always amazed that they don't have backups. And yes, I talked about that. One of the things that they do is they get in and they delete the backups. There's certain kinds of backups that they can't delete, right? I know our backup solution, the way that it's structured, you couldn't get in to delete. You'd also have to hack into the backup appliance. And even if you could delete the data off the backup appliance, which isn't even supported, even if you hacked into it, you still are not allowed to delete the data off the cloud copy of it, right? And even if you could delete that data, there's a air-gapped copy that has to be kept. And I can't call up, as the CEO of the company, that I can't call up the vendor and say, hey, delete that data. They won't do it because it's not allowed. It's a security measure. So this is preventable. That's the thing that always drives me crazy, is the we didn't have a backup excuse is not valid, really. It shouldn't be.
The other takeaway too is if these bigger places are getting breached, these are people who have IT departments, who have budgets, who are spending money. What makes anybody who's in business, in a small business, think that they can't be breached? Like,
worst thing I've ever heard, Dave. Worst thing I ever hear. I don't have anything anybody wants to steal. I'm sorry. Do you have any money? Because that's what they want to steal, right?
You have an identity, you have a reputation, you have a bank account.
Right. Well, business think about it. If hackers don't know how much money you have, they come up with some random arbitrary. I don't know how they figure it out, but however that is, if you don't have that cash and you don't pay that, you don't get your stuff back.
Right.
And you literally could be out of business. That's
and even if you don't have anything, somebody who does. You're connected to a vendor, to a bank, and you're just an upstream channel. They're salmon, and they're just swimming upstream. They're going to find the easiest point of entry and go.
So let's reboot this. Okay, we talked about it, right? Let's reboot this and talk about what are some of the things that that we can do comparatively, right? And so today is about comparing the cost of the breach and the ransomware, whatever it is, versus the cost of security. I will tell you that I've had people that say, I don't want email security. It's too much of a pain. It's a nuisance. I don't want it. You guys have similar?
Well, I'll give you a perfect example. You know, and it ties into cost perfectly because it at the time, and it still is, was free, right? So we had and I'm not going to get into the specifics of it, but a client that was breached through their email. When we took them on board, we recommended, actually, we told them we're going to enable multi-factor on your accounts, and adamantly the 3 partners said, absolutely not. We're not, you know, we don't want to do that. And a year later, they got breached. $100,000 was moved out, and he wanted us to track, figure out what went wrong. And I said, I know exactly what went wrong. Here's what you signed, and you know what we wanted to enforce, and we know how they got in. And that's the free one. So if you can't sell free, it's hard to sell the solutions that cost money. So
it's almost like not locking your car door in a public parking lot.
And people say, though, I don't lock
you got to push a button to unlock
I don't want to lock my car because I'd rather them just get in and not break a window.
Yeah. And look, I mean, everybody has their reasons, right? And we're not criticizing it. Of course, we want you to reboot it. We want people to think about this, right? And by calling it out, hopefully people will think about it again, you know? Anyone else had somebody that just turned down something like similar?
I mean, I think we all have the same stories of people not wanting to pay money or not wanting to be inconvenienced, because security definitely does bring some inconvenience along with it in many cases. But you know, the only thing that you can even come close to, and as an analogy, is insurance, right? I mean, you're paying for risk management. That's what the security is. Look, in our industry, it used to be protect. Now it's detect and then respond and then fix, right? So as an industry, we've conceded that protecting completely all the time is not possible. Now, does that mean you don't do anything? Absolutely not. It means you need to take several approaches, and you need to have layers of things, and then stopgaps and checks and balances, just like anything else.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? Obviously for phishing, we you know, is email's the number one, and we know they're out to lock your stuff and ransom it and either release it on the web or you pay them. What are we recommending for the things that people should do? That, you know, from the free stuff, right? If you've got Microsoft 365, Brian, you said Microsoft 365 has 2-factor built into it now. Used not to. Even Microsoft said, hey, this is so important, we're going to start giving away for free, right? What else?
Training, security awareness training. You know, educate your clients and your employees on what to look out for. And when they click on that, they get the email that says, "Thank you for your $2,000 Amazon order," and instinctively they click on it, bring them to a page and says, "This is what you need to look out for," and watch this 90-second video on some prevention. We do that. We take this. You know, we do a baseline report on it. And every month we send out these templates to our clients, and it's great. The response has been great. You want to see that graph start here and end up down, at the bottom at the end of the year. And it
needs to be a constant, ongoing strategy. It's not a once a year. Compliance says you only need to take security awareness training once a year. Well, that's baloney, because we're not worried about compliance. We're worried about our business. We're worried about our security, and the people are the weakest link. If we could remove the people. If we didn't have users, we wouldn't be having near as many problems as we do today. Now, obviously, that's not a possibility, but that's just the deal. So training is the utmost important thing.
Training, I think I've seen clients as well get excited when they got a real phishing email and they knew from doing training that it was bogus, and they felt like they did their part, and they really excited about that.
Yeah, you just don't want to put their guard down. That's all, because that tends to happen too. Because I know what these look like now, and then all of a sudden they get that one that triggers, whether it's an emotion or whatever it is, and that's what they're designed to do. You just got to keep the guard up. That's all.
I got one from an attorney yesterday. He said, it was funny. He said, man, that Microsoft logo looks real. Yeah, of course it does.
It is a real logo.
It is. They copied it right from their website.
They didn't make it themselves. They just took it. Yeah, in our phishing tool, they can report it, right? The user just clicks a button and says, this is phishing. Then it comes to us and we see what they're getting hit with. So we know, when they're being tested by us, but then also when a real one comes in, we're then aware of that so that we can be taking proactive steps to engage other folks in the organization and let them know what's taking place. Really,
I want to make a point, Dave. I tell you what, I want to make a point of this. We run phishing emails. Oh, we lost Stephanie. We run phishing emails every day at our place, right? And it's random, but we do it to ourselves. Okay, I'll let her back in here. We do it to ourselves and our staff, right? And we're the experts at this. We're supposed to be experts,
right?
And every now and then, I get one person that clicked on something, and it tells me, and I love saying this, how many chances does a hacker have to get an email through to somebody for a person to click on it? How many chances do hackers have?
Infinite.
Infinite. It's a sideways 8, right? How many times does it take for us to make a mistake and it costs us a big amount of money?
One
time, right? And so if we're sending 25 fake phishing emails a week, and we're going through, and we're maybe once every other month, okay, maybe once every third month, maybe once every 6 months, we get one. Without that education, all right, what would that number be? 1 a week, 2 a week? And I love business owners to say, I'm too smart for that. I'll never fall for one. I will never fall for one. Well, I got news for you. Guys, this is a reboot, and we just say it how it is here. You will fall for one. And if you don't, somebody at your organization will.
Everybody sitting here on this call has been fooled.
Oh,
if you say you have, you're lying. I'm just telling you.
I get, what we get, and this is where these are people that are trained, and we have clients that will forward us an email that's not part of the training exercise. It's a legitimate phishing email that came in. Right. I got this attachment. I can't open it up, but I wasn't expecting it. You just hit all three things that you need to be looking out for. And meanwhile, it's just.
I was given an in-person training, okay, and I happened to get an email that day, okay, that I knew was a hacking email. Somebody was trying to get an attachment in on me. By the way, your hacking attempts can they get it past your email security is a good sign too. If it can get past your email security, there's another problem. So I took a picture of that email, right? And in the thing, I sent it around my phone around to everybody, and the picture looked like the full screen email. It's a full screen picture. And so I sent it to the first person. I said, yeah, look at this kind of thing right here. This is the kind of thing you don't want to click. Here, pass this around so everybody can see it. And as soon as I did, I was like, what? They said, the attachment's not opening. I said, you're kidding me. I just got done saying, I said, no, because I took a picture of it, right? And I said, yeah, you can't open it. It's a picture. It's not the actual one. Pass it down 4 more people. It won't open, Jim. It won't open. We're busy. We don't pay attention.
Yep.
That's what the problem is. And even paying attention doesn't matter, So email, I say email security is a big one. Training is a big one, guys. MFA, multi-factor authentication. Brian, can you tell people what multi-factor authentication is so that you kind of dispel any concerns about what it might be?
Yeah, it's a second layer of protection to get into, bank accounts, email, and that second factor can be app-based where you get a push to it. It could be a text. It could be a phone call. And some banks are requiring that now, where you actually have to make a 2-factor to speak to some people, and it's being pushed out more and more on various platforms because it's another layer. It's a layer of security that
you got your username, you got your password, and then some kind of prompt that would only come to you, right?
Correct. And you don't want it to be your email because that's.
That's some people's 2-factor option in email. Don't do that. That's a bad option.
Yeah, that's two bad. I'll say really quick. I read an article this morning. Microsoft put it out. You mentioned that they give multi-factor authentication away for free. 75% of the administrator accounts in Microsoft 365 tenants are not multi-factor authentication set up. That's first off.
Yeah.
And then, like, I mean, if you don't turn that on and you're not doing that, like, that's the keys to the castle. And then the second thing I'll say, that's the most important thing you can do to protect yourself, is to guard your email account with your life, because that is the only way you regain control of anything that's been compromised.
Yeah.
If you cannot log into your email because it's been hacked and your password has been changed and you're now out of the game, you're cooked. That's the one thing you need to make sure you keep on.
Yeah.
I think we always circle back to that too, because it all ties back to that mailbox.
That's right.
Isn't that funny? You know, we started our show a long time ago. Well, not a long time ago, a couple months ago, on passwords, right? And now it's coming back to email security, and you know, passwords are a part of it. But this is I think maybe we should talk about multi-factor authentication in a separate show. So, well, I think we've effectively reboot on the cost of the two things, the comparison of them. I want to thank everybody. You guys are fantastic. I always love talking to you. We'll have our meeting tomorrow. But listen, if you don't know what the reboot is, PM me. We'll get you a link to the YouTube group, the YouTube channel. We're getting ready to start up a LinkedIn group. I think we should probably do that, right, everyone?
Absolutely.
And so we're getting ready to start up a LinkedIn group for the reboot to help dispel information and help you reboot and make better decisions. So thanks everyone for the show today. Great conversation. I really appreciate it.
Good.
You.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you.
We'll see you in a couple weeks. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.